It was a fight? I didn't even see it.
If there's one thing I love about joint practices is that inevitably, if you go through every joint practice, there is going to be some fights going down. And in the case of the New England Patriots, I'd say they're one of the least likely teams to ever get into fights. I mean, this is Bill Belichick's team, who's notorious for being one of the most disciplined head coaches in the entire NFL. And in this video, not one fight happened, but multiple fights happened, involving some very key players for the New England Patriots and the Carolina Panthers. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. We're also doing a huge giveaway for Madden 23 on my Twitter account. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter and retweet the tweet that you see, or just turn on my notifications because I'm going to be tweeting out codes throughout the entire week. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? You have to admit, ever since Tom Brady left the New England Patriots, things have been getting a little strange. Year 1, they had Cam Newton under center, and that was a mixed bag. Year 2, it seemed like the New England Patriots were trending in the right direction. Mac Jones fell right into their laps, and for the most part, he had a very successful rookie season. Obviously, there were some moments that were better than others, but for the most part, as a rookie, Mac Jones provided the best statistical output out of any of the 2021 QB class. Now, granted, Trevor Lawrence had to deal with Urban Meyer. Zach Wilson was still trying to figure things out. Trey Lance barely got any playing time, and he was placed in the best situation out of all of them. Justin Fields had to deal with Matt Nagy not knowing how to use him properly. And Mac Jones got to go to New England and team up with one of the greatest head coaches of all time. But something changed from that season to this season. His offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, a man that he was quote unquote attached to by the hip, decided to leave to take the Las Vegas Raiders job, which is very admirable considering how that is literally the most competitive division in the entire NFL, featuring the Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, and the Chiefs. So now there are some questions surrounding the New England Patriots, and a part of me wonders if they're the same exact disciplined type of team. Now, this isn't me hating on them. I'm just saying I haven't seen the Patriots do something like this in years past. I hold them to a very high standard. I think Bill Belichick's one of the greatest head coaches of all time. Not only does he coach, but he's also in charge of talent acquisition. Is even more impressive, except the fact that he drafted N'Keal Harry over the likes of DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, etc., etc. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is there's been some very strange things going on with the Patriots. Firstly being, of course, their play caller situation. And I'm going to be honest, their preseason debut looked really good. I mean, Tyquan Thornton on that first drive, that touchdown reception looked really good. Bailey Zapp looked really good as a backup QB. I'm not trying to say it's all bad. I'm just saying it's a little atypical and a little irregular for the Patriots to be going through what they're currently going through. So before we get to the fight, I wanted to bring you guys an update on the Matt Patricia and Joe Judge situation, because this is also very, very strange. So if you didn't know, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge are splitting the play calling duties for the New England Patriots. Now, the reason why this is strange is, of course, I'm going to put aside the fact that both Matt Patricia and Joe Judge were failed head coaches, because my personal philosophy is you could stink as a head coach, or you could be in a situation that just wasn't right for you as a head coach, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad at football or bad at coaching football, or you can't be a great coordinator. My favorite example is Rod Marinelli. I mean, he's not necessarily considered as one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, but he's definitely not a horrific coach. Despite that, he's most notorious for the 2008 Detroit Lions season, when the Lions went completely winless after winning all of their preseason games, mind you. But when he was the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, he was really freaking good. So just based off of that, I apply that philosophy everywhere. But here's the thing. What Bill Belichick is doing is atypical, because Matt Patricia throughout his entire career has been a defensive coordinator. Joe Judge has been a special teams coach. And now both of these individuals are competing for play calling duties. Now you might be wondering, why doesn't Matt Patricia get his old job as defensive coordinator? Well, Bill Belichick appears to be developing his son for that role eventually. So clearly that's no longer available. So here's where we are currently. During their first preseason game, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge split offensive play calling duties, and New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick said Monday that the decision wasn't based on a competition between them. He said that has nothing to do about it. When asked to elaborate on the process Monday, Bill Belichick turned a bit sarcastic, saying, "We don't have time for that. I appreciate the question. I really do. I know how interested you are in that subject, and I'd love to be able to shed more light on it. But honestly, it's a much longer conversation." Belichick still hasn't named an official offensive coordinator to replace Josh McDaniels, who is now the head coach of the Raiders, like we mentioned. Patricia and Judge have been leading the offense in practice. Patricia's official title is senior football advisor / offensive line, while Judge's is offensive assistant / QB coach. To their credit, Trent Brown said that everything looked pretty smooth while Matt Patricia was calling plays. Matt Patricia even described the overall situation as collaborative and noted that we follow Coach Belichick's lead. We're 100% just trying to make sure that we do everything possible as coaches to allow our players to do everything they can on the field. That's what's important, not the rest of it. Judge said that the assistant coach's job is to make the head coach happy. He had a vision for his team. It's our job to listen and to go out and execute the way he sees it. As far as defined roles or whatever it may be, I come to work with one simple policy. Whatever he says goes. My job is to do whatever he says to the best of my ability to get the players playing better. The article also mentions the reason why this is so unique is the fact that Matt Patricia's primary background as a coach has been on defense, while Judge's has been on special teams. Bill Belichick has made a point that both Patricia and Judge were involved with offense in their previous job as Lions head coach and Giants head coach respectively. This is just a little concerning because you have a quarterback that you need to develop, and it's very atypical. Another thing that's atypical is the fact that, well, during their joint practice with the Carolina Panthers, a gigantic fight broke out. Now look, I'm not trying to say that this fight means that
the New England Patriots are undisciplined and they're gonna have a horrible season so far.
I'm just saying that it's atypical. So here's the thing, 2 fights went down, okay? Fight number 1 involved Kendrick Bourne, Christian Wilkerson, and Panthers DB Kenny Robinson, which were kicked out of practice for fighting. A sideline out to Wilkerson seemed innocent enough, but then some jawing, and next thing you know, both teams were in a melee. Bill Belichick was not pleased. So in addition to this, according to Zach Cox, there was a big scrap between the Patriots offense and Panthers defense after a Christian Wilkerson catch along the sideline. Kendrick Bourne came in throwing punches, and it also looked like Cole Strange was in the middle of it. Hopefully this didn't start from a Baker Mayfield crotch grab, that'd be hysterical, but the fact that Kendrick Bourne, huge part of the New England Patriots offense, and Cole Strange, their first round draft pick, were in the middle of this is clearly significant. Both are very important parts of the New England Patriots offense, and it seems like things just went back to normal following that. But no, a few moments later, we found out that yet another fight went down. This time it was between Patriots center James Ferentz and Panthers defensive tackle Phil Hoskins, which were kicked out of practice by referee Brad Allen after things got a little heated near the end of a play. Ferentz was pleading his case that he didn't throw a punch, but Allen wouldn't relent. Now Bill Belichick calls a team meeting. So obviously, if you know Bill Belichick, man, he has a zero tolerance policy for this type of stuff. He's very big on trying to make sure his team is disciplined for the upcoming season. There's just a lot of volatility surrounding the New England Patriots. I mean, this is very atypical for the New England Patriots. They don't have an offensive coordinator. Their team is fighting with other teams, which is very much against the Patriot way because they're notorious for how disciplined they are. I don't necessarily think this is a big deal. I just thought it was interesting, and I usually bring you guys training camp fights. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.